What's up, everyone? So we're here with episode 2, and we got a lot of suggestions for improvements. So we're looking forward to seeing your comments and suggestions for this episode too. And with us, as usual, we have Roach. What's up, Roach?
Yo, what's up, everybody?
So first off, we should probably get to, what some of the users had to say last time. So TVA 1990 had said, has more, he quoted some that I had said and said, has more experience on the Darknet than me, which was something I was saying about Roach last time during the last episode. And his guess was Hug or Hug Bunter, who's, basically owns Dread.
No.
I figured I'd let you.
No, I'm not that cool, man. I'm not that cool.
It would be interesting to hear what Hug has to say about that.
Right.
So next we have some of the requests were smoother transitions, less stock videos, and too many cuts. So it's definitely going to be a challenge for me editing
But we knew off the bat. We were talking about it beforehand, saying that like this is our first episode. We're gonna look back at it and it'll be like, yo, we suck.
I'm excited though. I'm really looking forward to like seeing what it's like in like episode 10.
Yeah, 10, 100. Hey, we're on our way. But yeah, like definitely, we got some work to do, y'all. But we're on our way there.
So, do you want to take one of the comments?
So here's the one. Presumably you're aware of the Darknet Diaries. Couldn't you come up with a more original name? And we weren't even thinking about Darknet Diaries when we did this. Is it a plus that it's a D&D, and like if you research him and our shit comes up, I could put that as a W, but we were literally 10 names and we picked it. And I think that was the one that was focused to what we're doing. So yeah, like no disrespect to him, it just came up that way organically. But from what I hear, dude's making like 30K an episode.
Yeah, he kills it.
I'm trying. Yeah, he's killing it, and like I'm trying to do the same thing. Not really trying to say that money looks better in my pocket, but we're just on a different hustle over here.
What'd you think about Maggie Carpet's comment where they said ban alcohol and legalize drugs? What's your thought process on that?
I mean, I think the whole Darknet's all about that. That's what we're about, like the whole drug war and all that. But I don't know about banning alcohol. People will need, they're fixed. Believe less than, the last time they banned alcohol, a whole gang war started in Chicago.
Yeah, it was great for Capone. Yeah, he made a lot.
He made tons of money. So it's just like they ban alcohol, you'll just catch homies on the market pitching it. So.
Yeah, you find dudes on there that are gonna make moonshine and sell it.
Right, which. It's apparently you can pass it as windshield wiper fluid.
Yeah, I've heard that.
That's what's just
yeah,
which that's a genius idea. If I've ever heard one.
That's a great way for
like just go around with jugs and wind is actually that white lining.
For sure, some dye and you're good.
All right. Anyway. So I guess we're gonna hit up on the Benzo Boy. He was doing my research on him. Benzo Boy he was pretty prolific.
Yep.
And apparently, there was questions from what I saw on things. Is like if he exit scammed, and apparently some people were saying that he got locked up, and yeah, he got 2 years with 3 years unsupervised.
Yeah, and he was a major. I think they even quoted him in the article where they were saying like he's like a super prolific, vendor, and he made basically fake Xanax. Is that right?
Fake Xanax, and from what I was like, people were ODing off of it.
Yep.
There's like locals and shit like ODing, and maybe that's how they caught him or whatever. But yeah, 2 years. What I was, what people were saying on the comments and stuff is like 2 years in the feds for something like that. Everybody's saying that he ratted on the whole operation.
Yeah.
Everybody.
I mean, I can't really speak to it because I have to like see it in black and white before I give someone that label. But I mean, 2 years, especially if you have deaths, like if you have like ODs or deaths related to it. I've seen dudes on a couple of occasions get life bids for that kind of stuff.
ETC King, there was a vendor that got a life bid for selling like weird analogs.
Yep.
Yeah, he did the same thing, but for 2 years and 3 years unsupervised, that's like a kitty. That's a slap.
Oh yeah, that's a great bid. That's a county bid.
Who's hey? Like, who did you have to suck off to get that one? But like, what also too is like the town too. Like, I don't know. Sometimes in the small ass towns, I think this guy was from Ohio or something. But some of these small ass towns have small, you know what I mean? Like they're still good old boys.
Yeah.
And like maybe they all know each other. So maybe the judge was federal case. Who knows? But people people in the comments have been saying like, yeah, he's most likely ratted everybody out and to, get a sweetheart deal like that.
Yep.
Somebody had to get jerked off somewhere along the lines.
Yeah, 2 years for a major, that's it's definitely interesting. I mean, for me, like me getting a 5-year sentence, it was only because I had gotten my Franks hearing and I could prove that they broke the law in order to catch me. And like I looked at his docket sheet and there was none of that. His docket sheet was very, very short. It was very much to the point. There was no back and forth. There seemed to be hardly any even debating, any kind of fighting whatsoever. And I found it really weird. There's a message at the top of the docket sheet that basically said that any type of cooperation you won't find it in the docket sheet. And for those of you that don't know that, like a docket sheet is a list of everything that happened when it happened inside of a case. Like a lot of cases have this historical record of what happened and when, and that's what the docket sheet's supposed to document. And then from the docket sheet, you can look at other things that happened and you can view the documents in order, in chronological order that way. And if your average case is 200 events, just as a estimate. Right. Like this dude was like 25. It was just very, very short. And I didn't really go through with a fine-tooth comb, but it was definitely interesting to see.
So do you think like did they even show like he had a lawyer or anything?
Yeah, they had it listed. Yeah, he had a lawyer. And
okay.
Like
is it public defender or anything?
I have the video of me looking up all his stuff, and I also looked up to see if he was already placed in the BOP, and he hasn't been he hasn't actually went yet, which makes sense. Like usually with guys like that who are going to be in minimum security camps, they're just going to say, hey, you got 2 years on this day at this time. You need to be at this facility to turn yourself in. And they, they do it because they're petrified anyway, So yeah, so he'll just show up and so he's not actually in the system, the federal prison system yet. That joy is still yet to come.
I mean, especially with the 2-year bid.
Yeah.
And then all that shit. Dude, we posted, we wrote the story. Yep. And there's a picture, and that's a big ass bag of fucking Xannies, dude.
Yeah, I mean, he'll go, take a nap and his sentence will be over.
I'm just saying, if I got caught with that amount of Xannies, I ain't getting no 2 years.
You also have to factor, he's not doing that whole 2 years. He's doing 85% of his time. And then like if he's eligible for first step back credits, that's going to bring it down even more. If he does, if he does like the RDAP program, that's going to bring it down even more. So I mean, I don't think he'll have time to get into RDAP. Takes a while to get into.
I think I read that they found the fucking pill press, and also they found the pill press still.
Yep,
that's another thing. Like there was people saying like, oh, people were getting like fucking crazy years for QPs. They found the press in his vacation house.
Yep. I mean, I seen dudes get
in his vacation house.
I seen dudes get 10, 15 years for conspiracy, and they were caught with no drugs. Yeah, man. And then you have ghost weight, like the feds.
Oh yeah, ghost weight.
Like so if I'm selling, like say I sell an ounce of coke every week, and maybe someone flips on me, and the person that flips on me is the person that I'm selling the ounce of coke to, and we'll call him Johnny. So every week I sell an ounce of coke to Johnny. Now Johnny's telling the feds, like, yeah, Sam sold me an ounce of coke every week. Now I get. They come, they raid me, say they get nothing, no drugs. They can, like, if Johnny said that I sold him for a year, they could turn around and say, okay, well, 52 weeks in a year, we're going to charge you with possession with intent for 52 ounces of coke. And like the sentencing goes from, basically nothing to 15 years, mandatory that you're going to have to serve because of the weight. And like, but you didn't get caught with any of that, and it was already gone.
Sold.
Yeah, that's what they call it, ghost weight. They're gonna charge you, with possession, and you don't even possess it. Like, and then it's like you can get, let's say I rent a apartment to you, right? And you're a convicted felon, and let's say you get raided for selling drugs or whatever, and maybe we're roommates, and I have like a gun in my part of the house, and it's locked in like a safe, and there's no way you can get to it. I've seen the feds still charge people with possession of a firearm, even if it's locked and they can't get access to it, and it's been like confirmed by multiple people. They never handled it. Like what they'll do is they'll say they charge you with constructive possession, meaning you could have possessed.
You could, yeah. But here's the thing with like the vendors and stuff, like there's like if they get you and they get your account and they get your wallet, the feds know what you sold, right? So like, yeah, you could have had like 1,000 sales and you grossed say like 200K, but that's not recounting the re-up or anything. They're going to charge you with selling 200K worth of fucking
and then what they're going to do is they're going to, every darknet market that exists, they're going to, and they're reviewing.
So it's like ghost
and they're taking screenshots. They're like a lot of the times, like Department of Homeland Security, they're doing that. They're browsing these darknet markets, and they're seeing how many sales you have. What do you sell, right? Like if you just sell keys and you have 500 sales.
They're hunting you,
right? So I mean that's the thing. Like they're gonna have their own record, which is why it's suicide for a vendor to keep any kind of information about their customers. Like if I keep all of your information and I get busted and I say, oh well, look, here's all my sales, here's what everyone bought. The people that bought it have plausible deniability. I don't though, because I've been caught selling, and if I say here's what I sold, they're like, okay, cool. Now they can charge you with all those things, even though you don't have it. They can still charge you with it, and that's ghost weight, man. You know what I mean? Which is why it's retarded for a vendor to hold on to that kind of stuff.
Well, hey man, the guy, we already know his outcome, and we all suspect on what he did. I mean, hopefully he comes out in those 2 years. I mean, they gotta have him some crazy really light place.
He'll be at a camp. Ain't no one's doing anything to him. You know what I mean? Like his biggest problem will be being bored. Or it'll be like the CEO the CEO doesn't like him and yells at him, and like that'll be his biggest issue. But like no one's getting hard pressed or extorted or stabbed up. Like that's not going to be something that he actually has to deal with. I mean, he might see a couple of fist fights, but that's about it,
Hey, we're gonna leave this. Well, hey, apparently some shit popped off today. Then we're gonna leave that to the end, the good shit. So let's get to the Monroe closing, the local Monero.
Yeah, that sucked, man. That was interesting to hear. I still don't really fully understand why. Obviously that the feds are, they don't like it, and they're probably getting a lot of pressure on the back end. That's my assumption.
They put out a statement not too long ago, pretty much laying it out on the line, like we're coming for everything.
Yep.
So they're not gonna go to war with the whole thing unless they got really shit on the back. You know what I mean? And as we can see, like, I mean, hey, they made a good move. They, I know that looking up at their corporate stuff and looking up all their stuff, that they're out of the British Virgin Islands, so they're like subject to like what's going down in the UK and their type of rules.
Yep.
And they, the fact that they were in the British Virgin Islands, and you can't even really get XMR from what I hear in the UK. They already got, everyone's putting it together.
Yeah, and if they could just seize it over there, right? Like they could just take your shit. They don't need like
From what I hear, yeah, they can just take your shit. But like also too, which was also with the local Monroe closing and like all the thing, there was an article coming out. Like there was a guy, Elon Musk, WHM, which is White House market, and there was an article that came out saying how the feds, they know that he's doing money by mail and he's super slick and all this, but they were like sending the guy YouTube videos to watch, and then getting all the YouTube, like they would send him like 20 links.
Yep.
And then all those 20 links, they would look who all looked at them out of the thousands and thousands, and then narrow it down that way, which is wild. Like they're getting really creative in, it's like harder and harder to make it in the darknet business, believe it or not, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's kind of like you saw the evolution of, alarm systems, and you had it where like, you'd have a lot of burglaries because it was fairly easy. You just had to use brute force. And now like, response times are better. You got backup systems, you got, all kind of like, you got satellite alarm systems now. So it's not just a matter of like cutting a telephone cable and you're good.
And it's just like, it's cool though, the way that things are moving. I like it, that the fact that the things are going decentralized exchange and all
Agreed.
that. But the thing with the like decentralized or anything is get all the shit to work together properly in unison is always a chore, because there's always going to be fighting between. It's like leftist politics or something. Everyone's fighting with each other or something.
Yeah. And then you have threat actors to that. Like you have people like feds who aren't going to want that kind of system to be successful. So they're going to try to do like poison the well tactics. And they're going to try to play games and get people to flip. Do the wrong thing. Whether it's put some evil code on a system like that, or try to set up some kind of backdoor, or try to screw people over in some way, or try to like, make it so that the whatever system it is that they're using is made to look not reliable, so people don't use it, or they're too scared to use it. A lot of those tactics are fairly, old.
Right. Well, also too, like I feel like they're just trying to, now that issue came out, right? And then like you see the Tornado Cash guy, or like all these anti know your customers, they're like everything's folding real quick. Right. And it's just like it's coming, right? You that even though Like with these decentralized exchanges, you can't really go after somebody, you know. And then like the only thing is like the government, like they hold a monopoly of violence and all this shit. What are they gonna do to the people? You know what I mean? That are like, or people who are participating, right? That now that they can't lock one guy up, they're just gonna probably start hurting people together. Like I feel like that's what the future is with all this.
Yeah, like maybe weaponizing Rico or something.
Something like that. It was just like, well, you were dealing with this cryptocurrency and you didn't do this, and you're an enemy of the state or some shit. Like I feel like they're moving towards that type of shit, right?
Yeah, I saw.
Which
it's absolutely true. Because that financial independence, being self-sufficient financially, like it's like if you bought a piece of land, right, for say find a rural piece of land, buy it for $5,000, you go out and maybe you buy a Pacific Dome, right, which is one thing I was looking at is a Pacific Dome. It's a geodesic dome you can set up in like 8 hours, and like a wood stove, and it's like now you might have put out 15-20 grand, but you have no mortgage, you own your own land, and you have a shelter that you can live in. I mean, you have no electricity or bathroom, but like you can figure that shit out. But like my point is,
cabin life.
Yeah, I mean, you have no more financial weight on your shoulders, so you're self-sufficient in that way. And I think that's absolutely the opposite of what any of the systems of control that exist actually want. They want you to be, working at a 9 to 5 for 60 years. They're taking 25% of, your salary as tax. Then they take that 25%. You have, 75% of your check because they stole it in taxes because it wasn't consensual. Then, you're going to go to the grocery store, and what happens then? Well, you're going to spend money and what? You're going to get taxed on it again. And like, God forbid you buy some like lemons and sugar and give it to your kid, and your kid goes out and does a lemonade stand. Now they're going to have to pay taxes and probably get a business permit that's going to cost more than they could make in 5 years selling lemonade. It's ridiculously asinine. And when you can, economically enslave people like that, it's a lot of control. Like it really is a great kind of example of the allegory of the cave from Plato's Republic in Book 6, where, you have people who know, like, actual reality is hidden from them. It's kind of like in The Matrix, when the lady's like, she calls Neo Copper Top because he just, the people there, they get used and thrown away. They're used for energy and they're used for a certain purpose and thrown away. And I think we have like a lot of that is kind of in our world is kind of the reality of it. That's why like I love like the alternative housing and stuff like those crazy ass geodesic domes or earth ships. Their earth ships are badass,
We're kind of facing that though, like especially with our sites and stuff. Like we're trying to get our LLC up and stuff, and we have that fucking unwanted business partner, Uncle Sam. You know what I mean? Yep. Always in our pockets. Like, I mean, I get it. Like especially now that I'm like, we're moving and everything's gonna be above board and all that. Like, yeah, man. The unwanted business partner.
I don't get it. I don't want to send billions to Ukraine and all these other insane things that the government spends money on that's completely unnecessary. I hear the argument of people like, well, you like roads, you like having like highways and stuff. Yeah, I do, but those things don't cost the amount of money that gets taken from people. So like I just think it's criminal at the end of the day, the amount of money that gets taken, because it's literally the mafia model. Like the mafia model is where the mafia doesn't own businesses directly, but they take a percentage, and like no matter what happens, you always have to
asset forfeiture.
Yeah, we have that too. Yeah.
Yeah, did you see the asset forfeiture? The cops are robbing more people than actual robbers. Yeah. Cops are taking way more money off people than people putting the steel on them motherfuckers.
Yeah.
But hey, that's why we need this thing, with the whole decentralized just to get away from this shit. So with LocalMonero closing, they have the Haveno coming up. So it's like right when that shit came down, they were ready to pop up.
There's a lot of power.
Which is like
there's a lot of power in financial systems like that, and that's one thing they don't want you to be as empowered, you know.
Right, and I'm telling you, man, with like with everything going on and stuff, like the Monero devs and even this like anybody that's working on anything has to go on that anonymous name.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Otherwise, they're gonna end up like Boeing employees. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like to fuck those Boeing's like killed like 2 whistleblowers. Like in the last 2 months, like somebody's just like, and this is all about big money, right? So it's just like, there's some whistleblower like, yeah, these planes are all fucked up. We're just gonna sell them to Africa. Well, someone whistle blew on them, dude's heart popped.
Yep.
And then there's another one, and I'm thinking about like the, our overlords and our corporate structure and stuff. I was like, man, the fucking guy who's putting in all the work for Boeing, he's got to be making a killer 401k, bro. Right?
Have you ever seen The Wire?
Yeah.
So do you remember?
Let's go somewhere around town.
Do you remember in the beginning of The Wire, in the beginning of The Wire, for those of you who haven't seen it, there's like a part where they talk about the guy who invented the chicken nugget for Ronald McDonald. And he says, there's one guy's explaining to another guy, and he's like, oh, the guy who came up with the chicken nugget, man, he's set for life. He's good. And like the how he's explaining it to him, he's like, the guy who came up with the chicken nugget is, he didn't get anything for that. He's still in the basement trying to crank out, more ideas, trying to make the fries taste better or some shit. And I think that's probably a really good analogy for this. Like,
but the thing is like, yeah, you're right. And it's like, no one's going to know. The thing is like with like the XMR and stuff, like even let's not even get into crypto. We'll talk about like, say like this GME hike that happened, right? With this roaring kitty guy, right? This guy is tweeting something. The market's jumping. He's done it 3 times. You gotta, that dude's got to watch out because those bankers are going to fucking kill his ass.
Yeah.
Straight up. Like if he keeps fucking around like that and stuff, he's going to be a Boeing whistleblower, dog.
Probably working for him.
Who even knows, man? Well, I'm just saying, like, they're making this, and they're making the regular people jump up like that, making them feel like they're regular. Yeah, that dude's out.
Yep.
And then, like, that's what I'm saying with, like, as we're moving forward in the XMR thing, and I know we're kind of, like, jumping around everywhere, but as we're moving forward, developers and like, because this have no shit, this really threatening power.
Do you want to expand on that? Like, what is that?
Well, so pretty much it's like BISC, right? People use BISC, but it's for XMR.
Yep.
So like with LocalMonero closing, they have BISC, which is kind of like local Bitcoins, LocalMonero, whatever, type thing where you could do cash by mail, which is the best, or, put it on the Cash App, put it on the Apple Pay, get an Amex Visa card. It's pretty much liquidating. It gives you that exit ramp, right? Well, all the exit ramps are closing. This one's coming up, but there's like different maintainers and stuff. Like, so there's, they communicated all through, everything's through Tor, and the trades are peer-to-peer. And like, the problem that they're having is like the arbitration.
Yep.
From what I'm reading, is like who is solid enough to arbitrate with good judgment type shit. So that's the thing. What I'm telling you, like, Decentralized is awesome, but you gotta look at left, like almost like leftist politics, and realize everyone's gonna fucking argue each other what's best. There was like so Haveno came out, and then like the guy from Hard and Steel is talking shit about Woodner, the guy that started it or something, and like how he's like central. So there's beef in the fucking community.
Yep.
Like as the shit is getting built, There's a bunch of beef behind it, you know, which is, it seems like it's getting fucking, you know, working itself out. But that's just the thing with decentralized stuff. Like, who's gonna know that the guy that's, you know, arbitrating your case, if you're getting scammed, is actually a good guy, you know what I mean?
Sure.
That knows what he's doing. Or is some guy that's running a node, you know, I could see like, oh, you know, selling, you know, if you pay me on the back end more that I'm, you know, making this guy lose or something, you know, you can work something out in there,
Yep.
right? That's the thing, is just like, that's the key position with the arbiters and the arbitration and how the funds get released.
Yep. I think almost
it's a fork of bits.
and it's open source too, right?
Well, yeah. Well, apparently, you know, open source, after, you know, we'll get on that later, but open source, I feel like has a different meaning nowadays, especially when people get locked up over it. Yeah.
I think the one thing that's nice about it though is like the iterations can come fairly quickly. Like if you have people who disagree and they're, you know, they disagree with how things are run with something like that, they can get to a point where they're like, you know what, we're gonna splinter off, and then, you know, you can have different versions of it, and then, you know, whoever is right in the long run and you know, creates a better platform or a better system, is most likely going to be the person that the majority of, you know, people end up going with.
Yeah. I launched Haveno last night, and I never got a trade off of it, but I got it kind of working, kind of. Yep. I'm pretty sure if I fucking launch it right now, fix some shit, it'll probably fucking be good as gold. But yeah, with Haveno, you give me like 6 months or something for everything to fix itself out. But I think that's, you know, going to be the future. So with like LocalMonero closing, and in the day that they close, this comes up and they're talking about full, you know, all kinds of different types of new shit with the blockchain.
Yep.
And all that.
And for the record, like they have anonymized user connections. It's like you said, it's a decentralized platform, but there's no central authority. There's no user accounts or extensive ID procedures, right?
Right. There's like the transaction between the traders and are secured.
Yep.
But like multi-signature stuff. But the multi-signature, I haven't read all about it. It's like, I'm like in the documents right now. I was up all night reading it, you know, trying to figure out what the fuck was going on. And that's what I get, like, which is cool though, because like multi-signature transactions on Monero, there were like maybe like 3-4 years ago, people were putting bounties up. Hey, I'll give you 150K if you can figure it out.
Yep.
And actually, there's a market right now, believe it or not, you know, dark matter, and they have that. They put the proof of work out there, and they're saying that, hey man, we got XMR multi-signatures.
Yep.
Maybe they took the code from them and put it. That would be cool.
Yep.
But who knows? That's all speculation, you know. But yeah, these guys gotta keep hitting, man.
Yeah. And it's written in Java, right?
What? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, this is Node.js. That's what I think. I gotta.
I think it uses TypeScript for the UI too.
Yes. The thing is I got it all loaded.
Yep.
And I installed it and got it running. But the thing was, I wasn't able to get a trade. So like, what it is you're gonna go in the terminal, do your shit in the terminal, and a fucking window's gonna pop up, and then it's like a market, like any market, any website, anything is gonna pop up, and once you're integrated, then you can go in further and start the trade.
Yep.
But yeah, look, I just got to there last night, and I was just like, you know what, this shit's all kinds of wonky. I'm just gonna fucking hit it up later, you know. Like, there's no sense of me beating my head on some shit that, like, I'm just only trying to do like a little $30 trade or something.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it'll
see how
it'll definitely. I mean, I think we fast forward a year, we're gonna see a lot of optimization for it, especially with. I noticed when like a lot of times when certain doors close, we see concentrations of people actually coming together to help build out alternative platforms.
Well, we'll see how it works out. It looks like it's going to work out, but you never know. It could be like Open Bazaar.
Yeah, that
I just fucking
I had a couple of trades on Open Bazaar though. It did work. It was I think it was before its time.
it just didn't hit with the people.
Yeah, it really
you know?
didn't. Yeah, I really didn't.
So like after all that, though, like this whole news week's been fucking wild, man.
Yeah.
Like we haven't had no Darknet stuff, but everything just like on the outer edge, like all the malware stuff, like they've been getting hard. So like the feds pretty much put out something against the lockpick guy.
Yep.
From what I'm hearing from internal sources, that wasn't the fucking actual guy. And what, people were saying is just that the feds put his name out there to, put that fucking, foot on that guy's neck because he knows who the real guy is.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, like Lockbit is a malware group, right? And Lockbit was a Lockbit sup was the guy that they're saying headed it up.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. But apparently a lot of that shit got outsourced.
Yep.
And then like if they're saying like if you dig around XSS, you can see the fallout between the coder and the actual guy. So like it could be like this guy could be just one of the many coders that got outsourced to work on something, or like from what I hear, he was just working on UI stuff on the panel.
Yep.
Because they have a really great panel when you lock somebody up, right? Like, what was it? That hacker Gummo was on his podcast saying, him and his friends were like sitting around thinking about like how they gonna swoop in like trick the fucking ransomware guys into giving a payment. They're like, no, that's just all. There's a panel. You talk to them like it's fucking AOL Instant Messenger.
Yep.
Your victim. They gotta pay like everything paneled out. There's no way you can fucking swoop the fuck in. I heard their podcast and they were fucking butthurt about that, by the way. But like, yeah, man. With these ransomware guys, they know what they're doing. And then like a lot of the people who are, I think like, especially with like other ransomware groups, a lot of the people that are taking the fall where the feds are like raising trophies, which are not really trophies, they're just affiliates.
Yep.
Like they don't really got the real guy.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like when they took down, like they're like, oh, we took down, Black Cat's site, and then like Black Cat took it back in like a half hour or so.
They did that with Silk Road.
But now, I mean, this dude, Lockbit sup, or like Dmitry, I'm gonna butcher this, Koroshev, was it? Like they doxed this dude. They put his picture. They got people on like LinkedIn and shit doing OSINT, putting out his vehicle registration. And like they got a $10 million reward out for him under what they called like Operation Kronos, which was headed by the National Crime Agency.
Well, if you remember Marcus Hutchins, that fucking UK guy, he was a part of Kronos with that Vinny K. And like, I'm just telling you, with this shit, you know what I mean? They don't got the right guy.
Yep.
Like the real admins and shit, they're fucking on a sailboat. And they're just feds. They're probably like, oh yeah, we got one out of like 17, 20 affiliates that was actually making money.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
I think they had said 194 affiliates total, and I think they had said like 39 of them didn't get any ransom, but like 114 were paid.
Well, that's the thing. They said the same thing where we're evil. They put a big old thing out.
Yep.
Oh, we got Robotnik. Robotnik was a low level.
The
real guy. I'm not going to put his name out.
Are you saying the feds lied to us.
Of course they did. I'm telling you, Robotnik was a low level, bro. Like he was low level.
Yep.
The real, I'm not gonna put his name out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but the real guy, he's got free, man. He's out there fucking fishing and hunting bear in Russia, bro. Like he ain't give a fuck about what these guys are up to out here.
Yep.
They got one low level out of what? Like 20? Like the way that those Russians, the way they operate, and the way they move, they're fucking G's, man. And even how they move in here in the United States, they move real crazy, you know?
Yep.
And yeah, especially out there on their home turf where they can't even, the guy they already know, like they're not going to get, he knows he's not going to get arrested. He's probably, popping bottles with Putin and shit at the club. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they got some little motherfucker, whatever. They ain't got nothing, you know? But they try to say the thing with Re-Evil. Oh, we got Robotnik. We got the whole thing. Make the whole thing. Nah, you didn't get the main guy.
Yep.
And those dudes, that whole thing in Russia is just, they're on some whole other level. I wish we were like that out here, man. Like they're all a different discipline in a different time.
Yep.
And like we on the West, we're just selfish, lacking. We're always lacking. You know what I mean? Like, no.
Hey, see, I thought the dead, for the darknet market, the Russian darknet markets. First off, did you ever see the how was it black something? I forget what the name of it was, but they're putting up billboard ads in Moscow. It's like, they were putting up billboard ads. I forget what the name of it was. I'll figure that out maybe for the next show if I remember. But yeah, man, like they do it up. The thing you're saying on the last podcast about the dead drops, like that's great. I would have saved so much money in shipping.
Well, that's the thing, man. Like that's the thing. Like as an American and shit, getting on with those cruises is really hard.
Yep.
Like I always used to have to speak Spanish, and then they would fucking give me a try, and then boom, yeah, I'd be able to make it on a team or something.
Yep.
But like, even if they know you're American, you're gonna get a hard time with them. But like, once they fuck with you, they'll give you the shit off the bat. I'd rather work with a Russian than an American, a Brit, a South African. I'd rather work with those motherfucking guys because with them, there's a code and a structure.
Yep.
Where we're here, it's just like everybody for themselves. I'll slice your throat, I'll slice your throat if it gets me up and stuff.
Yep.
With them, it's a different thing. So if you've ever fucking fucked with everyone always shits on them too. Like, I was like, they're actually the really most coolest people. They're really like Americans, but not Americans.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like they like to hunt, fish, shoot shit. They're just violent as us too, man. People drinking vodka, stabbing their fucking husbands in their sleep and shit. Same shit here. Like, I've always felt like with the Russians and shit, they work better, like they'll pay you on time. I've never, you know what I mean? Like, I'm telling you, like, what was it the other day? My kid was a kid I know or something. We're gonna have to edit this.
Yeah, I got you.
they're talking about I don't ever want to hurt a British person because I love their accent. I'm like, I had to tell him that, son, the British are the most devious, conniving motherfuckers. That's why they could get your hands in your pocket, kind of thing. Like the cultures are different. You know what I mean? So it's like with the Russians, and like everyone's asking me to speak about, Russian market admins and stuff, and like I'm getting tons of messages about it. But I'm gonna say this: if you get down with the Russian crew, they'll fuck with you, and you're getting paid, and there's no bullshit. Where with the Western people is like is he lying? This guy set me up. Am I getting backdoored? They're not like that, and in my experience,
Yeah, I don't know. I always worked. I mean, the only person I can't really talk about any real countries. I mean, though I worked with one person, and she and she it didn't work out too well.
Well, we talked about, hey, if they're gonna show up at my door, that's just, hey, this guy loves Russians, man. Definitely coming to my door. But yeah, back to lockpick, man. Like that's apparently that's not the real guy, you
Yep.
know. And you can dig through the XSS forums to find out like beefs, and everybody will figure that out. So, what happened yesterday? We were talking, and the fucking tornado cash guy got a sweet sentence in Netherlands.
Yeah, you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, here's the thing, right? The thing I gotta say is, imagine writing code so dank it was deemed unconsumable by the public. And then we're talking open source.
Yep.
Like the dude got kicked off of GitHub.
Savage.
Yeah, that's a badge of honor, bro. I'm like, man, I wrote code so dank they fucking wouldn't even let it on GitHub, bro. If that was me, you know, I'd be messaging everybody. Everybody, look, check this shit. I got kicked off of GitHub. Yeah, that's my real fucking name. Obviously, it's not there no more, you know?
You better turn that shit into a Docker file.
Right, but yeah, man, so apparently writing open source code is, you know, if it's fucking savage enough, it's illegal.
Of course. Yeah. I think we saw kind of the same thing in the 90s with encryption when you had the encryption wars, right?
Right. Also, too, with the FOSS stuff, like the speech is code.
Yep.
You know, I was watching something just not even like before we started the podcast, how they're trying to loophole that shit. And like you're fighting against the people who make the rules, you know?
Yep.
So, I don't know. Fucking tornado cash guy getting 5 years. But there's another guy that's about to get sentenced. And I think he's in the United States.
Yeah, let's smoke him. If that dude, you know, tornado cat, if he was here in the U.S., man, they would have handed him 20, 25, just off the cuff, if they didn't want to be brutal with it, you know, just because they'll just example your ass like they did, you know, with Ross, you know,
right. Well, you know,
oh, you ran a website here, hold this life bid, you know, like.
I don't know, but the thing is with like the shit that's just happened nowadays too, you know what I mean? Like with the internet, shit is so ingrained in our lives.
Yeah.
You know, that like, right. So we're like, I posted this thing today on the website, about the DoxBin guy. DoxBin guy get beat up.
Uh-huh.
And some people are saying it's a LARP, it's a fake, he's exit scamming.
So do you want to expand on what DoxBin even is?
All right, DoxBin's a place where, you know, you go and you dox, like you just, if you have somebody's information, you dox the shit out of them, right? So it's like, I've seen 2 Chainz get doxed, Bam Margera, fucking high-end, you know, political people. Everybody under the sun's getting doxed. And the thing is with him, the way that the guy made the bread was this: if you wanted it removed, you got to pay through him.
Yep.
Right. Classic, you know, for criminals out there, classic 101 extortion.
Yeah, for sure.
You keep it simple, you know. So yeah. So DoxBin guys either exit scamming, they saying this shit's a LARP, or boy, he really got caught and they fucking have him died. Either or, right?
Yep.
And just like I was talking about last week with the ASAP, right? Where like I did get some messages about it where like people were really happy that he came out. And I was just like, well, bro, that's like returning to a scene of a murder, dog. Like, you're already scot-free. You got the bread. You got everything, right? It's been 9 months, bro. Why the fuck come up?
Yep.
Right? Like, what if there's like, him popping up might have reopened an investigation on everybody. Like, everybody's all like, man, I heard from a reputable source. Oh, they're just bored. What? Get the fuck up out of here, bro. There's real fucking money in business being pushed, bro. Like, dude can pop up and now, never know. It opened up a whole thing and this whole crew's fucked up because of it, right? Because that one post.
Yep.
So it's just like back to this shit, right? Like, also with ASAP, they're like, oh, they came out and said, oh, yeah, why on earth would you come out and say, I lost 4.6 million and then like leave and like everybody's just like, okay, your legacy is totally intact, my bruh. And it's the thing with this fucking DoxBin shit. Is it fucking real? Is it fake? Whatever. They posted a wall with 60 million and some dude getting fucking beat up.
Yep.
Your reputation is tarnished.
Yep.
Like, I'm gonna tell you this right now. You will never see that shit happen. They can put my real name, my screen names. You will never, ever in my life see me fucking getting whooped like that on the street. No way. Even my wife would come at you and blast your ass. Like, that ain't like shit. It ain't happening. Like, that's the thing. So it's just like, is it a LARP? Most likely. But if it's real, you never know.
Yeah.
And the thing is like the people that are saying it's a LARP, they're all from Europe, right? Like, they're all from, but they don't even know. Here in the United States, people will fucking kill somebody, post the dead body, and say, I did that shit on Twitter for clout.
Yep. And I hope that, dude's okay and, it is just all a bunch of nonsense. That would be awesome. I never like to see people. I understand, like, dude, had a kind of a screwed up website, and extorted people, and that sucks. But I don't know. I don't like to see people get victimized either way. But at the same time, man, like, when you go around doing shit like that, like,
Right.
you're gonna piss some people off who you probably don't want to piss off. Which is again, it's like, the guy who's gonna selective scam or run a market and exit scam, and then later on they people figure out who he is and something fucked up happens, and it's just kind of how it is.
You lose your rep of who you are, right? And that's kind of what I'm getting at. I think where it's like, I don't know. So like people are fucking like why would you even report on that? Like, real or not,
Yep.
You guys better watch out because, like, I swear to God, like, you remember like the Dave Chappelle show where it's like if the internet was a real place?
Nah, I didn't see that one.
You never seen that one where they're in the they actually go into a malls were things at a time and it was like the internet, and they're like walking into a porn store and like a pop up just jumps up at like it's a guy, just like a real pop jumps up at you like, hey, buy my shit, If the Darknet place was a real place,
Yep.
it wouldn't be this libertarian bastion that bro, people would be laid out everywhere, every single where. It's just like, so, I don't know. I'm kind of like drifting, maybe, but with that, it's just like, I don't know. I'm kind of losing my thought.
I think it's, I think one of the most, amazing things about the Darknet is that, I think I said this last time, is that you've had violence in the drug trafficking, even going back to like the opium trade with the royal families, and the Darknet was kind of the first time in history where that inherent violence was not embedded into, your average drug transaction, which is really amazing, considering the fact that no one has ever been able to do that,
I think what I was just also to piggyback on that to where I was getting at is like your OPSEC is sacrosanct, and if it comes out, that could happen to you.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, especially if 60 million, like, I was like, oh, they're fucking British. I was like, bummed. I
Yep.
was like, man, 60 million, bro. If I would have I would have came at them. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But it's just, I don't know. That's I think why the pillar, even if it's fake, if it's not fake, that's why you should have your anonymous shit going, because especially if you're making money, they know you. They're gonna get you if they know who you are. England, India, Russia, United States, Brazil. It's all happening the same way, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can get hit anywhere, no one's, that's just kind of what it is.
And if people, I'm just telling you, if people know that you're walking around with 60 million, doesn't that make your fucking teeth like, you know?
I have 60 million, man. I'm gonna be armed well enough to, I can put a lot of stuff into play where it's like, at the end of the day, you're gonna need like an army, and they better be like some SF guys that are coming with because
Yeah.
in that case, I'm gonna have some that are retired that are watching my back.
But the thing is with like, even if the guy did it himself, or with ASAP coming alignment, it's your legacy. What are people going to remember you as when you're gone, right?
Yep.
And ASAP was like, everybody thought I talked crazy shit about him. I actually like the guys, but dude, what the fuck? Why? You know what I mean? Like, it's like returning to a scene of a murder, or faking some fucking bullshit. Even if it's fake, what if it's real? Right? Then everyone's gonna be all kinds of tripped out. But the lesson is still the same. Don't get caught lacking.
Yeah.
Because them boys will come for you. Them boys will come for you.
Yeah, and I mean, if it's not something like what he's going through, getting kicked in the head, then it's gonna be feds giving you 20 years in a box, which isn't gonna be much better, and you're probably gonna see worse violence.
And then you'll probably get kicked in the head in the feds too,
or extorted, like what he's doing to people on a regular basis. Yeah, that's gonna be, but they're gonna be like making him buy ice creams at commissary for him.
Right? So it's like,
or having his family send him money so he doesn't get smashed.
So, well, I think that was a fucking good episode. Like, we're gonna wind. I think we're gonna wind it down here.
Yeah.
I'm still just on the thing, man. It's just like, well, don't ever get caught lacking.
Yep.
And that's the thing. You play this drug shit, and especially you talk on the crazy on the internet. Somebody might pull your fucking card one day, dog.
Yep.
And you got to be fucking ready. But I don't know. What a crazy fucking morning. we were supposed to record this shit at 8, and we had all kinds of shit pop up. I've been on the phone with fucking Sam the whole day, like, oh fuck, this happened, breach forms happened. Like,
yep,
it's been such a crazy day. Hey, we'll catch you guys in another 5 days. But we really appreciate you listening, and yeah, Sam, you can take it away, my bro.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you're watching this on any one of the places that it's syndicated on, if you have the ability to do that, then definitely do that. And be sure to stop at darknetdiscussions.com for any other news or resources related to this. And we'll see you in the next one.